Most entrepreneurs are stuck because of one belief, and that belief is the business needs me to run. You see, if you stop working, revenue drops, and then if you step away from your business, everything breaks. And if you try to scale, you will have more chaos landing on you. And so at that point, you don't really have a business anymore, you have a job with an overhead. And so here's the key distinction you need to make. You can have two businesses, which on paper, they look identical. But in reality, they are very different. They have very different structures. One business depends on the founder for basically everything, for decisions, for acquisition, for fulfillment. The founder is basically more or less the business. While the other business depends on systems, on rules, on other people. You have a team, you have systems, you have workflows in place that allow the founder to step back. And so only the second one is actually a business asset. Because if you were to say sell the business within the first business, you probably would get no buyers, because although you have income, buyers do not buy income. If somebody is looking to buy a business, they're not looking to buy it solely on the income of the business. They look at, okay, can this business run once the founder steps out, or is it going to collapse without the founder? That's it. That's what drives higher and higher valuations. And so the reason this matters is because if you are a freelancer or an agency owner, you are usually very involved within the business on a daily basis. You are there helping with the delivery. But the problem is a founder-dependent business is usually taxed heavily, first of all. It's then capped by time, which is a very important aspect for growth and for everything else. You are essentially doing a job and calling it a business. Whereas a systemized business usually increases valuation as the profit grows, right? It also scales just beyond the personal effort of the founder. You are able to leverage more than just your skills, your effort, and your time to get a certain result, to produce a certain result for a client. And not only that, but the improvements you make within the business itself, they convert into equity value. And that's especially important if you later on look to sell the business. And this is where a lot of people misunderstand wealth, because you can have two very similar businesses and they have the same profit increase, but in terms of wealth, the outcomes are very different. Because on one hand, you have the business that is founder dependent, and so that business valuation will not grow as the profit grows. Why? Because it's dependent on the founder. Whereas the other business has the systems and processes in place, and so that profit is multiplied. It's valued much higher. That's why one increases income and the other increases net worth multiple times. Alright, so let's say you're a business owner, you're a freelancer, maybe you are an agency owner, you are a service-based expert. How do you actually change that? How do you actually remove yourself from the system step by step? And the answer is obviously not working harder. And usually there are 5 main steps to do that. And step number 1 is you essentially list out every single thing you do in your business on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And that can be tasks, simple everyday operational tasks to keep the business running, or whether it's decisions, or whether it's customer interactions. A very effective way to do that is by tracking the things you do on an hourly basis. So for example, within a week, every single day, every single hour, you write down the tasks that you have been doing. And the goal here is to expose where you are embedded within the business. And so the next step is to look at the task list you have built and think, okay, where can I remove myself from this system? Which parts can I replace myself by either hiring somebody else to do it, by creating some kind of SOP, or by installing an automation? And so the people who are reluctant to either use AI or they are failing to implement AI and automations into their business are usually the people who are going to fall behind. And believe it or not, there is a very slow AI adoption rate because people are usually slow to adapt. Because if you can use it to implement different workflows in your business, then you can create a system that replaces you. You can and should use AI to turn tasks into SOPs, to map out decision rules, to structure workflows, to document all of your processes much faster. That's how you compress system building time from weeks to days or even hours. Now, not everything can be automated with AI, and although a great deal of things can be automated, there are some things where you are still better off having a real person do the job. And that's when you go to the next step, where you actually end up hiring somebody. And when you are hiring somebody, I think the most important thing is not their resume. The most important thing is their ability to learn. So you're looking for somebody who can learn very fast. You are also looking for somebody who has a lot of clarity in thinking and has the ability to explain work in metrics. That's how you hire somebody that is likely to do a great job. The next step is to remove yourself from the acquisition process entirely. So what does that mean? It means that if customers have to go through you every single time they buy, it means you are the bottleneck. So you systemize marketing using existing business activity. And how does that look like? You turn testimonials into ads, you turn support chat into proof, you turn onboarding calls into content, you turn delivery moments into case studies. And so nothing new needs to be created manually. The last step is to try and remove yourself from the business one step at a time. Start with removing yourself from some of the daily work. Be less involved and see how things hold up. And if you notice that the business is starting to break down and go downhill without you, it's a signal for you to go back in the business and fix the people or the systems. And you keep repeating this process until eventually you are able to completely step back and have the business run normally as if you were there, except you're not there. Because a real business, assuming that you have put the right systems into place, can and should run without the founder.